Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar, How to Get Paid 3 Times Faster. My name is Sarah Roper and I am the moderator on today's webinar. I am also the Contact Marketing Manager at TradeGecko. Also on today's webinar, we have Evgeny, who is our Product Manager at TradeGecko, Sophie, who is the Connect Growth Lead for Southeast Asia at Stripe, and Tracy, who is the TradeGecko customer and the owner and CEO of Skin Elegance International. Now, without further ado, I will turn it over to Evgeny, who will discuss what TradeGecko Payments is, why we built it, and how TradeGecko Payments can help merchants get paid 3 times faster.
Thank you kindly, Sarah, and hello everyone. So TradeGecko, as you hopefully know, TradeGecko is a software as a service platform for wholesale merchants. What we do is we offer a solution to manage orders and overall inventory seamlessly. So at some point about a year ago, we realized that most of our merchants are actually struggling to get paid on time. There is just, too much human complexity involved in paying the invoices, especially if your resellers have a payment term. If they're supposed to pay you 30 or 45 or 90 days later, they frequently forget. So another problem with payments is that as a wholesale merchant, you frequently have to deal with multiple payment systems. A single merchant can be accepting Stripe, bank transfers, PayPal, bank checks, and even cash. So there is just too much fragmentation. Plus, there is, of course, a lot of manual work involved in actually tracking who got paid, who paid what, and how much you got paid. So you have to deal with accounting systems, inventory management systems, and your payment processing systems, such as, say, Stripe, right? There is just a lot of back and forth from one system to another. So overall, we realized that since TradeGecko already sits in the core of our merchants' businesses, it would be a natural extension for us to offer them a payment system where they could get paid on time and without a hassle. So it really made sense to bring the payments capability into the core TradeGecko platform. And we did exactly that. So why should you care as a merchant? So when we released TradeGecko Payments on May 30th, we started seeing some very interesting changes in the way merchants get paid. So a few months after we released the system, we did some research and realized that merchants who previously used other means to get paid, like bank transfers and so on and so forth, with TradeGecko Payments, their average invoice settlement time decreased by a factor of 3. So on average, they used to be to get paid within about 27 days. It took about 27 days to get an invoice settled. With TradeGecko Payments, that time decreased to 9 days, which already is a pretty beefy improvement. But more than that, we found out that without TradeGecko Payments, it takes about 1 week to get 50% of the invoices paid. But with TradeGecko Payments, half of the invoices get paid within 1 business day, which is a massive improvement overall. So overall, TradeGecko offers a wide set of benefits when it comes to TradeGecko Payments, because it's not just a seamless payment experience for your reseller. We also integrate with the B2B commerce platform that allows merchants to further streamline the way they get paid. It's somewhat similar to the conventional e-commerce, of course. We also offer fast payouts, and in the United States, it's next business day payouts. In other countries, check our documentation. And we also try to make it as easy as easy as possible for merchants to onboard, and we are very transparent about the fees we charge. So we charge 0% payout fees. So whatever you see in our pricing documentation is exactly what you're going to get charged in terms of transaction fees. Now, I'm going to hand it over to Sophie from Stripe, and she could tell us a little bit more about the Stripe Connect product, which powers TradeGecko Payments.
Thanks, Evgeny. Hi, Sophie. We're happy to have you here today. Can you please tell us a bit about Stripe?
Thanks for having me. So at a high level, our goal at Stripe is to build a unified infrastructure for the internet economy. So another way of saying this is that we give businesses the tools that they need to grow and scale online. Now, when we first started Stripe about 7 years ago, this meant providing a better basic infrastructure for companies to accept online payments. So think about a traditional e-commerce use case where an offline merchant might want to sell a t-shirt online. What's happened in the subsequent 7 years as our customers have grown is that we've realized the challenge of online payments is actually more complex. And so in that time, we started to launch other series of tools to help businesses deal with problems like detecting and preventing fraud, to help them run advanced analytics on their business so they can understand where their growth is coming from and where they should invest. And we've also launched a number of tools to support newer business models like platforms, marketplaces, and software as a service businesses like TradeGecko.
That's great. What are online payments all about?
So there are really two main things that businesses need to get right if they're going to have a successful online payment strategy. And the first of these two things is building a beautiful user experience for customers to check out from. Now, while this may seem intuitive on its surface, it's pretty common for businesses to underestimate the stakes of getting this right here. So I'll give you an example. When you go to the grocery store to make a purchase and you spend 30 minutes walking around the store, filling up your cart, it's pretty unlikely that by the time you get to the checkout line that you're going to just leave if it's a little longer than you think. Now, the story with online commerce is actually completely different. If it takes even one more second for you to go through the purchase process, research shows that you typically see a 40% drop-off in payments. So it's super important that businesses work with a technology partner who can not only process their payments quickly, but who can also enable them to build a best-in-class checkout form that reduces the number of errors when customers enter their information. So that's the first bucket that businesses really need to get right. The second area that online businesses need to get right is a little less obvious, and that's building their companies on an advanced infrastructure that allows them to move quickly. Now, what's really striking here is that if you think about the evolution of online payments first came to be in around 1999. And between 1999 and today, online commerce has exploded. So it's grown about 1,500x. But if you look at some of the bigger businesses that are operating online, they often still operate on infrastructure that was created in the late 90s. So this means that they're doing things like having merchants fax in forms and building really onerous processes to set up payments. So this is really one of the core problems that Stripe is trying to solve, so making it easier for businesses to get online, and then in models like TradeGecko's allow their businesses to get online and move quickly.
Great. Now that we understand how to make payments as a consumer, but why is it so hard to make payments as a business?
So I talked a little bit about the complexity of online payment systems that were built 10, 20 years ago. One thing I want to note is that there is a reason why these systems were so complex, and that's that the stakes are really high when it comes to online payments. It's super critical that you get this right and that you do it securely. More broadly, we've seen in the last 5 years or so that the businesses that are really driving online growth in the economy, and I don't just mean startups, I also mean offline businesses that have moved into online in the last 5 years, are just pretty complex. So think about some of the subscription-based businesses that you might interact with as a consumer, a ClassPass or a Blue Apron or a home food delivery service. If you're going to launch that business successfully, you need to be able to do things like switch your customers to new offerings and plans, put them on trial periods so they can understand if they want to buy your service, offer them discounts. This is just really hard to enable. And the same is true for platform or marketplace models that are also proliferating in the online economy. And arguably, it's even harder for them because they're not only trying to manage the consumer payment experience, but they're also having to figure out how they can get other third parties paid in different countries.
Based on what you've seen, folks, what is the typical setup for an online SMB payment infrastructure?
So generally speaking, when it comes to the internet economy, we're really at the start of the journey here, and that's true across the globe. So only 5% of payments in today's world happen online, which is really striking when you look at how much time consumers are spending on their smartphones in particular around the world. So whatever way you cut it, there's a lot of room for growth here. Now, what I will note is that in markets where software tools like Shopify, Xero, TradeGecko, and many of TradeGecko's partners have been operating, they started to make a really serious dent in how SMBs work, and it's been really exciting to see that. So to give you an example, we recently ran a survey on startups in Singapore to understand how new businesses are operating their technology stack. And what we found is that by automating some of the most resource-intensive parts of building a business, like invoicing, for example, cloud-based tools are helping Singapore entrepreneurs to do more faster and with fewer resources. And so 90% of companies we talked to said that these tools have made it easier to launch a tech startup. Perhaps even more exciting, 93% reported that these tools have made starting a business cheaper, which we think will open the door to more innovation.
How does Stripe power TradeGecko Payments and make it easier for merchants to get paid?
So TradeGecko works with an API called Stripe Connect that we built to support platforms like TradeGecko, Shopify, Xero, and Salesforce, and to allow them to provide a safer and faster experience for users in several areas. So the first of these areas is our verification API. So TradeGecko leverages this API to make sure that we securely collect and verify all the information related to your business when you sign up to use TradeGecko, and to do that as quickly as possible so you're not waiting to get started. Second, TradeGecko uses our core payments API that I talked about earlier to create a best-in-class checkout experience for the customers that you are addressing as they pay. And finally, TradeGecko uses our payout API to make sure that merchants receive funds in their bank account as quickly as possible, next business day in the US, as Yevgeny mentioned. This also allows them to give you real-time access to your data on payments. So not only are you getting your payments more quickly, but you also have more visibility into when you will get paid.
Can you tell us a bit more about Stripe Connect?
Sure. So what we've learned in working with platforms like TradeGecko is that the areas I just mentioned, so onboarding, allowing your customers to pay, and receiving funds, are really, really important to get right. And so a lot of the work that we do on Stripe Connect is to enable companies like TradeGecko to continue delivering the best possible experience. So as an example, that could mean making your onboarding process faster and smoother, continuing to create the best possible customer payment experience as consumer payment preferences change over time, and critically making sure that we can get you paid as quickly as possible.
Great, thanks so much for sharing, Sophie. I will now move on to my Q&A with our customer, Tracy. Hi, Tracy. Thanks again for joining us on this webinar. I would now like to ask you some questions about your company and your experience with TradeGecko Payments. Firstly, can you tell me a bit about your company? What is Skin Elegance and what inspired you to start this business?
Skin Elegance International is the business that I set up in 2014 when I moved from New Zealand to the United States. I have the US distributorship for a line of clean science skincare and makeup from Australia, from Melbourne. And I was just inspired to do something completely different from what I'd done before, with very little experience in this sort of thing. So it was a big learning curve. But yeah, using my background, I was able to identify and very happily represent a line that I can really believe in.
Wow, that's great.
So I put synergy. Yeah.
When did you realize you needed an inventory management system, and how did you manage your inventory before TradeGecko?
We set this whole business up from scratch, just very small, just a couple of us, but we were using obviously web developers and advisors. And whilst we knew we would need to somehow manage inventory, we really had no idea how it would be done or what it would involve. I probably had some idea of maybe using a spreadsheet. Instead, our web developers did the research for us and told us the sorts of things that were available. And so we actually started using TradeGecko from the very start of our business. We didn't actually even have to use a spreadsheet really initially.
So that brings me into my next question. Why did you choose TradeGecko?
There were a number of reasons. I love the fact that it's a cloud-based system, so I travel a bit with my business. We go to trade shows all around the place, and it's lovely to be able to just know exactly what you have in stock by going to the web. I liked the fact that it catered to a very small business that mine started off as. That there is a number of obviously subscriptions you could choose. It had factors that we needed. For example, we buy products in Australian dollars and we sell in US dollars. So we needed to have a system that would allow us to use different currencies. And I also was, kind of drawn to the fact that it originally came from my home country. So there were lots of reasons.
That's great. Is there any other benefits or features of TradeGecko that have helped you with your business?
Yes, just we use TradeGecko really as our sort of the basis of how we manage the business, because it just does allow us to, do everything we need. It links to our small retail online store, which is not our main core business. Our main core business is setting up B2B accounts with spas and medi-spas and clinics who buy our product as wholesalers. And I love the fact that they can go in and they can shop, if you like, as if they were an online retail customer by, when we send them an invitation to do so. I love the fact that we can manage the inventory so easily, whether it's uploading new products, and as you can imagine, there's quite a few with a skincare and makeup business. I can't really think of any ways how we'd manage it without TradeGecko. It's just made the whole process so much easier when you consider that, I came to this with no experience doing anything like this. It has made it so much easier.
That's great to hear, Tracy. I will now focus my questions more specifically on TradeGecko Payments. Why did you start using TradeGecko Payments?
We started using them not long after they developed. We started using them probably 4 or 5 or 6 months ago, I think, in June. Because it was just we realized it would make it so much easier to arrange payments of our B2B customers. Obviously, with an online store, it's very simple. They use whatever the online store API is, and it's just payment is made and it links through to TradeGecko, and it's easy. With the B2B customers, we create sales orders, we have to factor in shipping, and there wasn't a way that we could just easily get a payment without either sending them an email, calling them, and then taking payment details over the phone, because we actually do not have we don't allow people to pay later, buy now, pay later. They pay and then we deliver. So we wanted to be able to have a system that took away all the clumsiness of having to make phone calls, having to figure out what time zone our customers are in across the states, getting together, getting onto the computer and using an online merchant services to key things in, then having to physically go in and make the payment show in TradeGecko. It is now so much easier just to be able to email an invoice that has a link to an online payment system that they can do with the click of a button. And it really has just streamlined it unbelievably for us.
Wow, it sounds like it's done a lot. Is there any other things that have helped with the payment process for your business by using TradeGecko?
I think just in terms of having that ease of access, that we can send them that email, we can personalize the email, we can say things like your order is actually on the way, because if we've got a customer who, for example, we know is a good payer, we will not wait necessarily, but we will invite them to make the payment immediately, like, not by the end of the day or the end of tomorrow, but, your products are on their way, we'd love you to make a payment right now. It's what happened with a client this afternoon. I sent that email, an hour later I saw that she'd paid. It just in terms of the ease of running the business, and just making it easier, especially making it easier for our B2B customers, so that we don't have to hassle them with a phone call or an email or trying to organize just a time, or we don't keep records. We're not supposed to keep records of credit cards. So it's been just a really big bonus.
How much time or money has TradeGecko Payments saved your business?
In terms of time, I think it's probably hours for each customer. I mean, for some customers, that you have to chase down to connect, it can literally be hours. In general, it's, I haven't actually quantified it, but I just know, especially when it's a small business like ours where we don't have a big team, it's been really, really great to not have to spend hours chasing after people. In terms of money, hard to quantify. I would love to have been able to have had TradeGecko Payments, earlier. We've had one client in 3 years who got sent product and didn't pay. And of course, in the way that we do the system now, it would just never happen. We would not actually send product without seeing a new customer push that paid button and seeing it appear in TradeGecko. I mean, that's only a few $100s. It's annoying, and sadly, I have actually sent them the new system, but they're still not paying. But in terms of there is actual a dollar saving, because we can absolutely say we will not send you product until you've made that payment, and you can make this payment so easily. Why would you not do it?
Okay, so, great. Yeah. How has your overall experience been with TradeGecko?
For me, it's been great. Coming from as I said, coming from a place of no experience in running this sort of business, they were very, very helpful at the beginning. They still are helpful, but I mean, right up to helping us upload inventory, giving us tutorials, screen sharing, showing how to do it, giving advice even on how to create a SKU, if you don't want to have it auto-generated. Whenever we've had an issue, which has been infrequently, the feedback has always been very helpful and very prompt. So I can truly say that, yes, my experience with TradeGecko overall has been great, and to have the payments added in has just been amazing.
With that said, would you recommend TradeGecko for other businesses?
I absolutely would. I think, whether you're a very small business starting out, there's a category of subscription to it that caters for them, right up to much bigger businesses. I would certainly recommend it.
Great. And lastly, what is next for Skin Elegance International?
Well, for us, it's just about growing the business, growing the number of B2B clients we have. We've taken on a couple of sales reps to go into clinics and medi-spas and doctors' rooms here in the Southern California area in particular. And, growing that business and being able to continue to grow the B2B customer. We actually, do include TradeGecko as one of the reasons to buy our products, because it's so easy to be a B2B customer with us.
Oh, that's great. Thanks so much for sharing, Tracy. I appreciate your time today. I think we can all agree this has been a very interesting learning about TradeGecko Payments and how to get paid 3 times faster. I would like to make a special thank you to Tracy, Sophie, and Evgeny for joining us on this webinar. I'd also like to thank the audience. I hope you enjoyed this webinar and will join us again on our next webinar. If you would like to learn more about TradeGecko Payments, check out our website or contact our customer support team. Thank you very much.